Hello, everyone. Welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. On this day in 1938, something happened which panicked America. The book The War of the Worlds was broadcast by Orson Welles. And at that time, he was a radio actor. And when it was broadcast, he turned it into some kind of live script. And many Americans believed that New York had been attacked by aliens. It caused a lot of panic and is now remembered in history as one of these really weird events. And we're going to read through two news stories about this. And because it was on this day in 1938, our media are fondly remembering. Okay, so this first story is from a website called Historic America, and it's actually from 2014. It's not recent. It says, on this Halloween Eve night, a radio broadcast dramatizing the H.G. Wells science fiction novel War of the Worlds caused a real-life panic after it led many American radio listeners to believe that planet Earth was actually under attack by Martians. The radio broadcast was narrated by a then 23-year-old Orson Welles. I don't think he's related to H.G. Wells. The spelling's different. Orson Welles is the man who brought us Citizen Kane and A Touch of Evil. Sunday night was prime time radio listening in 1938. Millions were tuned in to the CBS series The Mercury Theatre, which was a popular radio program. The show began innocently enough with a dramatic program introduction, followed by Orson Welles reading an excerpt from the novel, and then he cleverly transitioned into a news broadcast. And he also brought in an orchestra as well. So it started off with the Government Weather Bureau breaking into the broadcast, warning that there had been explosions on the planet Mars. This was followed by another announcement that a meteorite had crashed in New Jersey in a field, and then that was followed by some story about a widespread germ infection. It says here, the crescendo of catastrophe climaxes in an apocalyptic alien attack upon New York, followed by the Martians' inevitable defeat at the hands of a widespread germ infection. There's a picture of Orson Welles here. It says, listeners who were late in turning on their radio missed the intro and actually thought it was real. The looming war in Europe had Americans uptight anyway, and many people in the audience did not realize it was a joke. The size of the panic has been debated and overstated. The CBS newsroom was flooded with frightened phone calls. Oh, really? They had phones in 1938. Oh, interesting. And it says here that mobs spilled onto the streets. That just means gangs. As the word of all of this got back to Orson Welles, he had to interrupt the broadcast to remind the audience that it was indeed just a radio play. He made headline news the next day, and there's a picture of him here looking very dramatic. You can hear this on YouTube, by the way. And it says here, if you want to laugh, you can go and read it. But very interesting, very interesting. So that is a news story there. And we're going to move on to another news story, which is from onthisday.com which is looking at the same story, but from a slightly different angle, more of a historical one rather than as a news story. So let's read through this. This one is from the site onthisday.com. And it's saying that on this day, October 30th, 1938, The War of the Worlds, the science fiction novel by English author H.G. Wells, telling of a spaceship from Mars landing on Earth and causing panic, death, and destruction, was published in 1897. However, on this day in 1938, actor Orson Welles, no relative, I think, his name is spelled slightly differently, allegedly caused real-life panic across America when he presented the story in a very realistic way. Dance music, I think dance music back then was probably very different from the words dance music today. Dance music on the CBS network was interrupted by an announcer reporting that Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory had detected explosions on planet Mars. The orchestra came back for a while, then another announcement talking about a flaming object, and then he described the object as if he was opening it. Oh my goodness, this is terrifying. Using his voice, because he was a trained voice actor, and he was doing this, of course, as part of a play. So he goes through that, convincing people that he was being attacked by a monster. He was 23 at that point, working for the Mercury Theatre Company. He went on, of course, to become a highly acclaimed actor, writer, and film director. He co-wrote Citizen Kane, produced it, and directed it. Many listeners had missed his announcement on that particular night, and it got him into big trouble. He had to go before the media and explain why he did this. And he said at that time, because he was asked why he did it, he said, let's see, Wells went before dozens of reporters, photographers, and newsreel cameramen hastily at a press conference, and they asked, did he anticipate that this would cause a major panic? And his response was, if I'd planned to destroy my career, I couldn't have done it in a better way. And then in 1960, he gave another explanation. This is many years later. He said, I had actually conceived the idea of doing a radio broadcast in such a manner that crisis would happen. Today, of course, that wouldn't be allowed, but they were more innocent times. Yeah, so he said he wanted to do it. It would be a broadcast in such a dramatized form that it would appear to be a real event and that he would fool many people. Oh, very interesting, very interesting. And the fact that it was just at Halloween time also creates another, a very interesting slant to the story. So there we are, 1938, almost but not quite 100 years ago, 90 years, 80, 86 years, is that right? Oh, I'm terrible at mathematics. That's why I'm an English teacher, but that's the story of Orson Welles reading the novel of H.G. Wells, which caused a huge panic in America on this day in 1938. So it seems like this was one of the first ever fake news stunts. And this story says that would be unthinkable today. I'm not so sure about that, because we're given so much information presented as fact. Right, there we are. So that's it from me. I hope you've enjoyed this. Do spare a thought for H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds. It is a wonderful book, a bit classical, but if you're in the mood for a challenge, you should be able to find it free online. And don't forget to look for Orson Welles. giving his dramatic news report that America had been invaded. Thank you. Bye.